Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Not only do we have to preview Grand Slam Australia coming up Saturday night in Sydney, Australia, but the main reason we are here tonight is to talk about that episode of Dynamite that we just watched. I was absolutely blown away by that show tonight. That was that was a fantastic wrestling show. And I literally just made a tweet minutes before coming on here and clicking record. This show tonight, okay? This show tonight from Ontario, California, um, had literally everything that you could ask for. It was unpredictable. The main event, although I thought Thekla going into it, I thought Thekla should have won this match. She did. That was I would say, the biggest headliner on the show tonight was Kris Statlander losing her AEW Women's Championship. And for a third week in a row, Tony Khan goes with a shocking finish. And Thekla is the new AEW Women's Champion in a great strap match. Was it the best strap match I've ever seen? Absolutely not. I've seen way better. But that was a damn good match. And I'm not going to take that away from those ladies. So we had that. An unpredictable finish in the main event. The wrestling tonight was fantastic. Every single match delivered. We got some really damn good, solid storytelling. In the ring and on the microphone tonight. We got blood in that main event strap match. 2 title changes. I cannot remember the last time there were 2 title changes in AEW. Tonight, we got Thekla winning the AEW Women's Championship, and we got Kyle Fletcher winning back the TNT Championship from Tommaso Ciampa, which some people are upset about the result. I'm going to see how it plays out after Saturday. And we'll get there when we get there on this part of the show. But literally, this was such a fantastic episode. One of the best episodes of AEW Dynamite I have seen in a very long time. I cannot. I mean, there's been some really good episodes this year, but I don't remember the last episode of Dynamite that I've watched that has been in that upper echelon of fantastic shows. And I feel like tonight was one of those shows. We got that great Kenny Omega Swerve exchange to start the show. And they're going to have a match now. AEW is firing on all cylinders. Is everything perfect? No. It's not perfect. There's still flaws to the show. But you would be a blithering idiot to say that this team is this company, this company's not on a roll right now, because they absolutely are. And it's shows like this that just get you excited for the future and excited for the spring and what's going to happen after Revolution. We got Revolution coming up in a month. There's so much stuff that AEW is building to. It's insane. They are building to their weekly shows. They are building big time matches for these shows, like Kyle Fletcher and Tommaso Ciampa. It got billed. Thekla and Kris Statlander. They've been feuding for about a month now. They had their first match 2 weeks ago, but then it led to this match, which was even bigger because they had the strap match stipulation and a title change. You've still got the Don Callis family and the Death Riders. Not a fan of them having another trios match after we got that last week, but it was a good match. So, there's just so much to like. There's so much to like about AEW right now, and they're building to their weekly shows. They're building to Australia on Saturday night. They're building to the pay-per-view on the 15th. It's amazing, man. It is absolutely amazing. So, I thank you guys for joining me here tonight. We have a lot to discuss, and we have a lot to go over. So, I don't want to waste your time. I want to dive right into it. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and check out the Monday Night Raw review from Monday night. And that is available now on the Big Fight Fuel channel. If you haven't already, go ahead and check it out. So, we got a lot to get into, and I don't want to waste your guys' time. So, we had Kenny Omega and Swerve go face to face tonight. Lot of back and forth exchanges between them. Lot of trash talk, which is nice to see. You got Kenny Omega saying, "I never once called myself the god of professional wrestling. That was a name these people gave to me." Because Swerve doesn't like how he's calling himself a god, because he was a god a couple years ago, but he ain't no god right now. And these guys had a great segment. And Swerve, he comes back, and Swerve was very tense and aggressive on the microphone. He said, "Ever since I reached the top here in AEW, you've been nowhere to be found. You're either laid in a hospital bed or suspended." And he says, "All of a sudden, you come back after the title, and I feel like you're trying to use your EVP powers. I've already been through that in the summer with a couple of stooges, and I put that down for good, and I will put you down as well." It's very tense from Swerve. And then Swerve said, "I am the most dangerous man in AEW." And Kenny Omega said, "Most dangerous man." That's interesting, because he said, "The most dangerous man, it ain't you. I will say the most dangerous man in AEW right now is Brody King." So Kenny Omega puts over Brody King in this promo. The crowd starts barking. And then Kenny was like, "If you want this, I'm right here. It ain't difficult to get a match out of me. If you want me, if you want to fight, we can do it. Anytime, anywhere." And he said, and when Swerve talked about Kenny staying at home, Kenny reminded him about having a friend who could burn down some homes. Talking to Hangman Page when he burned down Swerve's home. And Kenny then slapped Swerve, and Swerve said, "All right, you've made your choice." And these guys were brawling around the arena. They get up on stage. They get to like the LED area, and Kenny gives Swerve a V-trigger. Then he looks to give him a one-winged angel, and Swerve is able to avoid Kenny Omega. And I don't know what he hits him with, but like to get out of the V-trigger. But then he just tackles him through two tables. And then it was announced in the opening match that we are not waiting until the pay-per-view on March 15th to get this match. We are getting this match next week on Dynamite. So Tony Khan continues to throw out these pay-per-view caliber matches on free television because of how damn good this roster is. It's insane. Every single week, we are getting pay-per-view caliber matches on TV. So yeah, don't tell me or don't tell other people on the internet that AEW is not on a roll right now, because you can't be seeing that they're putting out these type of matches on TV and saying, this company, it could be a lot better right now. This is where it's at, man. So, great segment to open up the show in Ontario. Then we went to the Death Riders, Don Callis family. When they announced this, I wasn't too thrilled. It was Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Pac against Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and Mark Davis. This was a good match. It was a good match. I enjoyed it, but I mean, we just got a trios match last week between these two factions. Do we really need another one? We need to start doing singles matches with these two factions. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see these guys fighting trios matches. I want to see singles matches. I want to see Pac take on members of the Callis family. I want to see Claudio take on members of the Callis family. Good match. Takeshita got the big win last. He got the win last week over Garcia. This week, Moxley gets the win over Josh Alexander to send a message to Konosuke Takeshita ahead of their Continental Championship match at Grand Slam Australia. And we will talk more about that match when we get to the predictions for the show on Saturday night. Kyle Fletcher, Tommaso Ciampa. Okay, the story about this match is Ciampa's a fighting champion. Kyle Fletcher wants to be TNT champion because he wants to go into Australia, his home country of Australia, as the TNT champion to get himself a hero's welcome. The hero's welcome he should have gotten last year. So, Ciampa and Kyle Fletcher. You talk about guys that have a chip on their shoulder and you feel like they have something to prove. Andrade, when he came back to AEW this year, he had a chip on his shoulder. He felt like he needed to prove something. And he's been one of the hottest wrestlers, one of the best wrestlers in the world in 2026. Tommaso Ciampa is in that same category. Am I totally going to give up on Tommaso Ciampa after tonight? I am not. I want to see how they follow up with Kyle Fletcher winning back the TNT Championship. What I will say, though, is after, 6 weeks into the new year, this has been the best match of the entire year. This match was incredible. This was such an incredible match. The crowd ate it up. And this was, even though he lost, this was Tommaso Ciampa's best match since NXT Black and Gold. That's how long it's been since Tommaso Ciampa's had a match like this. Tommaso Ciampa has never had a match like this on the main roster because he wasn't used right. So it's been, 6 years since he's had a match of this caliber? 5 years? That's insanity. So, they're fighting on the outside, and Ciampa's throwing Fletcher around, and Fletcher's sitting on the steel chair, and Tommaso Ciampa gives him a striking knee, and he does his old knee strike, and he's on the barricade, and he's clapping, and he pats himself on the back. And he used to do that all the time, and that is just classic Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa went for it again on the other side, but got caught in a half and half suplex by Kyle Fletcher, and Tommaso Ciampa was bouncing off the floor. Later on in the match, Tommaso Ciampa went for the knee strike with Kyle Fletcher up against the steel steps, and Fletcher ducked. Tommaso Ciampa moved out of the way. And it felt like he completely no-sold it because moments later, he got up on the steel steps and gave Kyle Fletcher Psycho Driller on top of the steel steps, which got a holy shit chant and made me cringe a little bit because Kyle Fletcher's back didn't hit the top part of the steps. It hit the edge, so that made me cringe just a little bit. Ciampa escapes a half and half, nearly bumps with the ref. Kyle Fletcher gets the boot to the corner, and he hits the brain buster in the middle of the ring. But Tommaso Ciampa was able to kick out. Kyle Fletcher was stunned. Ciampa didn't look like he even knew where he was, and this crowd was going crazy. Kyle went for it again, but Tommaso Ciampa hit a big running knee strike, and then another short knee, and Kyle Fletcher kicked out. And then he went to the corner and did it again. Pulled down the knee pad, and he got super kicked by Kyle Fletcher. Immediately recovered, hit Kyle Fletcher with the knee, and Kyle Fletcher barely fucking kicks out. So he's standing there again, and Kyle Fletcher is telling him to bring it. And that's the same thing he did to Will Ospreay in that steel cage match. And Will Ospreay finished it off. And he fooled Tommaso Ciampa. He hit Ciampa with a Michinoku driver, stood up, gave Tommaso Ciampa a big clothesline, hit a brain buster in the middle of the ring, and ladies and gentlemen, Kyle Fletcher is a 2-time TNT champion. After the match, Renee is out there to interview Kyle Fletcher. He said, I wanted this match, I wanted this moment because I want to be able to bring back the TNT championship to my home country and get a hero's welcome that I should have deserved. And I'm not just going to Australia to get an ovation and parade around with the title. I'm coming to Australia for a fight. So anybody in the company willing to step up to the protostar, now is your chance, or whatever he said. And out came Mark Briscoe. And I could just envision several wrestling fans grunt as Mark Briscoe came out. And it's nothing against Mark Briscoe. He's amazing. It's just the amount of times we've done this match. The amount of times this company has done Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher. And Briscoe came out and he actually congratulated Kyle. And he's came a long way, and he's a 2-time TNT champion. But he must be mistaken if he doesn't think he wants another crack at it after hearing Kyle Fletcher say, anybody. And Kyle says, I'm tired of looking at your face. I don't want to look at your face across the ring. But I did say anybody that was willing to come out could come out. So you want this shot? You got it. He said, I don't care about being tied at 3-3. All I care about is this championship. But you say we're 3-3 and we're going to game 7. What bigger stakes to have in game 7, as you use your catchphrase, reach for the sky? Well, if you want the TNT championship, you're literally going to have to reach for the sky in Australia in a ladder match for the TNT championship. So there you go. One more time. This better be the last time. This better be the last time. Mark Briscoe challenging Kyle Fletcher for the TNT championship. And I know a lot of people are upset that Tommaso Ciampa lost the TNT championship. I kind of am too. I'm not going to lie. But I'm willing to give AEW a chance after Saturday to see what direction they go with Kyle Fletcher, because Kyle Fletcher is one of the best wrestlers in AEW. Kyle Fletcher should be in this big world championship picture right now. By the summer, by the fall, Kyle Fletcher should be competing for a world championship. So I feel like Kyle Fletcher being the TNT champion is actually going backwards a little bit. But I'm willing to give it a chance, and I'll talk about that more when we get to that match in my predictions for the Grand Slam show. We had Daniel Garcia and Clark Connors against Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. For anybody that cares, Roderick Strong turned heel. Orange Cassidy went to tag Roderick, and Roddy just jumped off the ring apron and bailed. So I guess Roderick Strong is leaving the conglomeration. And that left it Orange Cassidy against Garcia and Connors. This was a random tag team match. I'm like, okay. I don't know what the point of this is, but Darby takes out Clark Connors. It's down to Garcia. It's just basically a singles match at this point. Orange Cassidy versus Garcia. And Orange Cassidy gets the roll-up win. And Tony Storm's in a luxury box. I am not really the biggest fan of this feud, but to their credit, this segment did get a lot of heat. Tony is talking about, putting her hair on the line and whether or not she's going to lose her hair on Saturday night. She's going to go out swinging. And she says if she gets dominated and destroyed by Marina Shafir in front of her family, friends, all in Australia, she deserves to go bald, damn it. But she refuses that to happen. And she starts talking about Wheeler Yuta, and Wheeler Yuta interrupts her, and all he says is, bring her out. So Marina brings out Mina Shirakawa, the friend of Tony Storm, and Wheeler, while Marina has Mina in a chokehold, Wheeler brings out scissors and cuts a piece of Mina's hair. And this crowd booed the shit out of Wheeler Yuta. A lot of fuck you Wheeler chants. Yeah, this segment got heat. Am I the biggest fan of the feud? No, I'm personally not. But this segment did get heat, and that was the goal. So I don't know where they're going with this whole conglomeration stuff, but there was a time I used to love Orange Cassidy 5 years ago. he was probably my favorite wrestler in AEW, but I don't know, man. Like Orange Cassidy in 2026, I just don't view him as the same. I love his theme song. I love when he comes out to Where's My Mind. He's great. He's a great professional wrestler. It's just I Orange Cassidy in 2026. It's just not exciting anymore. And there's guys that are just so much better than him, and he's in these comedy feuds, and I don't know, man. I feel like he reached his peak already. Um, he reached his peak when he was international champion 3 years ago, and I don't know what they're gonna do with him after this feud because the feud is probably gonna be over Saturday night. So after this, I don't know what happens. Honestly, I don't know. Um, we had backstage promos by Andrade with Don Callis and Hangman vowing their spot to be the next number one contender for the AEW World Championship. And we will talk about that match when we get to the predictions. Young Bucks, Rascals, and a wild card team who ended up being Private Party. It was reported today by Fightful Select that they were not going anywhere despite being off AEW TV for over a year after losing to the Hurt Syndicate last year. And they came back tonight. What a coincidence. A report about Private Party, and they came out as the wild card team in this match. And this was your party match of the night. I'm not going to go over it move by move, but this was your party match of the night. Just total chaos, cool shit, um, fast pace. If this is your type of match, this was probably your match of the night. Um, I enjoyed it. It was a really good match. Wasn't my favorite match of the night, but it was a really good match. And the right team won. The Young Bucks won. They pinned Myron Reed from the Rascals. And Private Party just came back. And it would have been too early to give them a shot at the tag team titles. The Rascals just debuted. It would have been too early to give them a shot at the tag team titles. The Young Bucks are a perfect team to win this match. Feud with FTR. FTR came out after the match, face to face with the Young Bucks, and FTR is like, "How's it feel that you're always gonna be second best?" And trying to make it personal. So the Young Bucks super kicked both of them. They teased super kicking Stokely Hathaway, but they let him off the hook for the night. So the Bucks are the number one contenders for the tag team championships, and I assume that match is going to happen March 15th at Revolution. And if that is the case, Young Bucks FTR are always great matches for the tag team championships. So if that match is on pay per view, that is going to be one of the bigger matches on the show. That'll probably be one of the matches of the night. And I can imagine after the match, we get the return of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. A lot of people thought that they were going to be the wild card team tonight, and that made absolutely zero sense because why would you bring them back in a number one contender match, number one in the Young Bucks' hometown, and number two, not to confront FTR? So they did the right thing. I think Cope and Christian are on their way back, probably at the pay per view, and probably after that Young Bucks FTR tag team title match. So there you go. And then the main event on the show was Thekla and Kris Statlander in a strap match for the AEW Women's Championship. And going into it, I thought Thekla should have won it all along. And I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but I thought Thekla should have won it all along. Then they announced in the opening match that this was going to be the main event. I'm like, yeah, Tekla's winning this title tonight. And that's indeed what happened. And it was a great strap match. And we'll start here. They're fighting on the outside. Thekla has a strap. She's on top of the steps. She jumps off the steps and pulls Kris Statlander into the steps. And that causes color, which is blood. Thekla does her creepy spider walk, and Statlander just pulls the strap and stops Thekla from doing the walk. Thekla hung up against the ring later on, suplexes Kris Statlander inside the ring. Then moments later, she is just whipping. They were doing a lot of whipping to each other. Thekla was doing a lot of whipping to Kris Statlander in the beginning of the match. Towards the middle, Statlander was pouring buckets of blood, and she was whipping Thekla with this strap. Then they were going back and forth, elbows and elbows, and Thekla just took this strap and she hit her on the neck as hard as she possibly could, and it looked like that fucking sucked. Then the Sisters of Sin come in, Julia Hart and Sky Blue, and they get beat up for a little bit by Kris Statlander, which leads to Thekla getting speared. Thekla spearing Kris Statlander, tying her hands behind her back with the strap, and then delivering a curb stomp for the finish. I thought that was a very clever finish. I thought that was a great match, and I thought that was the right outcome. So everything about this was great. And Thekla is the new women's champion, and I'm happy because you don't want most of the women on the roster stuck in this bubble of their challengers, and then they lose, and then they just go back to floating in the division. It happened with Kris Statlander for a long time. It happened with Jamie Hayter. You don't want that with most of your women in the division. So I'm totally cool with this. Statlander had about 4.5 months as the women's champion. Give that belt to Thekla and see what she can do with that. So, that was Dynamite. Again, absolutely fantastic show. And one more thing about that match is I'm a little surprised that they didn't extend this feud, like they didn't start this feud later on to get this strap match onto the pay-per-view. Unless we're doing somehow a third match at Revolution, which very well could be the place. Could be the case. So, but great stuff by Thekla and Kris Statlander, and Thekla is the new AEW Women's Champion. So, that was Dynamite. Fantastic show from Ontario, California. Probably the best wrestling show of the entire year. Absolutely the best episode of AEW Dynamite this year. No question about it. And I know we'll be saying that a lot with wrestling because we have these shows every single week. So, yeah, this was fantastic. And I can't say enough positive things about it. So now we transition from Dynamite to Grand Slam. And just a reminder for you guys, this show is taking place Saturday night, which is Valentine's Day night. And yeah, I will be watching this show on Sunday because your boy is taking out my girl on Valentine's Day, and we already got plans, and it's going to be a great night. And, we're going to go to David Buster's, and you know who's going to win all the games? I am. No. So that's how that's going to go on Valentine's Day night. And then we will review Grand Slam at some point on Sunday. So, all right, man. We got 6 matches to run through. Let me get to my notes app real quick to go to the matches. There we go. It's a 2.5 hour show on TNT. It's going to be a pre-recorded show. This show will not be live. We have Hair versus Hair, Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm versus Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. The person who takes the losing fall in this match has to go bald. And with how ridiculously long Wheeler Yuta's hair is, and his hair is covering his eyes, we will be looking at Wheeler Yuta being bald next Wednesday on Dynamite. So I will go with Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm in this match, and hope we could just all move on, because I'm just tired of this feud between the conglomeration and the Death Riders. We just need to move on. It's been too long. AEW World Title number 1 contenders match: Hangman Adam Page versus Andrade El Idolo. Andrade has been, again, he's been one of the best wrestlers in the entire world all year so far. It's very early. It's only 6 weeks in, but with wins over Swerve and Kenny Omega and great matches too. Andrade has been one of the best wrestlers in AEW and in professional wrestling this whole year. And you could make a case that Andrade should win this match, and the main event of Revolution should be Andrade El Idolo versus MJF. I would totally buy into that. However, Hangman is one of their guys. Hangman is one of their biggest stars, and I just feel like Tony Khan isn't going to pass up a main event world title match between Hangman Page and MJF. The story is already there. Hangman and MJF, they fought each other on the same show, which would be Revolution last year, and opened up. MJF has never beaten Hangman Adam Page. And plus, this would be a rematch of their world title match when Hangman was the champion, when they wrestled at Forbidden Door. And I really did not like that match. So they will have an opportunity to rewrite that wrong from Forbidden Door all the way back in late August. So Hangman Page is going to win this match. And the main event of Revolution is going to be Adam Page versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. AEW Tag Team Championship, Women's Tag Team Championships on the line. Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne against Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. This match was made specifically to get Harley Cameron on the show in her home country of Australia. She was on the show last year. She lost to Mercedes Moné. She's a tag team champion going into it this year. She got pinned in the Eliminator match. She's getting the win for herself and Willow Nightingale in this match. This is very predictable. Babes of Wrath are going to retain the women's tag team titles. On to the next match, which was made official tonight. Mark Briscoe challenging Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. Match 7 between these guys. Hopefully for the last time. Because I've said it since Dynasty that you look for a perfect match in wrestling. Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher are a perfect match. But Tony Khan has just ran this match into the ground. And I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan of Tommaso Ciampa losing the TNT Championship in a week. So what I hope happens is Kyle Fletcher wins this match, which I do think is going to happen. And I guess the ladder match stipulation does have more stakes. I don't really know if that's true or not because they had a no DQ match at Full Gear in Newark, New Jersey 3 months ago, and they absolutely killed each other in that match, which was such an outstanding match, by the way. Kyle Fletcher wins this match, which I do think is going to happen. And then at Revolution, Tommaso Ciampa wins back the TNT title because Tommaso Ciampa should be the TNT champion, and Kyle Fletcher is better than the TNT championship. So that's what I think should happen. Is that going to happen? I have no idea. But I'm going to go with Kyle Fletcher retaining the TNT championship in his home country of Australia against Mark Briscoe. And then we have the match I'm looking forward to the most personally. For the AEW Continental Championship, Konosuke Takeshita challenges Jon Moxley. This is the match I'm looking forward to the most on this show. Takeshita beat Moxley in the Continental Classic when Moxley wasn't the Continental Champion. And there hasn't really been much to the feud, but to me, this is probably the most unpredictable match on the entire show. You could go with the storyline where Takeshita is the Continental Champion and he's carrying around Okada's title that Okada had for nearly 2 years. And Okada can just get even more jealous of Takeshita. Or Jon Moxley retains after something that Okada does. And number one, they're going to have an outstanding match. This is probably, I think, this could be the best match on the entire show. Not going to lie. It's definitely the match I'm looking forward to the most. This is a tough one. But I'm going to go with the safe route. And I'm going to take Mox. I will take Mox to retain the Continental Championship after finally the Don Callis family turns on Takeshita. And then the main event for the AEW World Championship, Brody King challenging MJF after Brody King squashed MJF in the Eliminator match last week to get this match in Australia. And this is a no-brainer. Brody King is not beating MJF twice. MJF is not losing the title on his second defense when he's got all these people coming after him. MJF will be walking out of Australia with the AEW World Championship. So, those are my predictions for Grand Slam Australia. Again, we will go over the card one last time very quickly for you guys. AEW World Championship, Brody King will challenge MJF. AEW Continental Championship, Konosuke Takeshita will challenge Jon Moxley. TNT Championship in a ladder match, Mark Briscoe will challenge Kyle Fletcher. AEW Women's Tag Team titles on the line. Mega Bain and Penelope Ford will challenge Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale, the Babes of Wrath. AEW World Championship #1 contenders match. Hangman Adam Page versus Andrade El Idolo. The winner will challenge for the AEW World Championship at the AEW Revolution pay-per-view on March 15th. And then a hair versus hair mixed tag team match. Orange Cassidy and Tony Storm against Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. Guys, that was your AEW Dynamite review, and that was your AEW Grand Slam predictions. I will see you guys Friday night for SmackDown, and then Sunday afternoon for AEW Grand Slam. My voice is shot. Have a good night, stay safe, and as always, stay classy and love wrestling. Peace.